Hi everyone, Jai Hind and welcome to the platform of StudyIQ IAS in English. My name is Bhavar Singh Surya, makes India 115th course and qualified civil services in 2012. And I welcome you on the platform. Now in this session, we'll be talking about AFSPA, that is Armed Forces Special Powers Act, and if it will end in the Northeast as well. Now let me tell you that our Home Minister Amit Shah, he have said that in next 1 year, the AFSPA will be ended in the Northeastern region, except barring one or two states where the AFSPA will still be there. Now, when it comes to AFSPA, basically, let's see how it has evolved. So, it was in 1942 when the Quit India movement was launched. The Britishers, they introduced an ordinance, and ultimately that was the origin of the AFSPA, or it has the colonial roots. But later on, after the independence, this was not, implemented from 1947 or from 1950 onwards. But in 1958, this was enacted by the parliament to, address the armed secessionist threats that were there in Assam's Naga Hills. Later on in 1972, the amendments were made, and concurrently, it was made that both the union government as well as the state government, they will have the power to actually declare the disturbed areas, and the power was given concurrently to both the state as well as the center as well. In 1990, we have seen that this was the period. In 1990s, the insurgency, it erupted in Jammu and Kashmir, and thereby it was expanded to Jammu Kashmir region in 1990, where there was a parallel legislative act that was implemented. Now, when it comes to AFSPA of 1958, so this is a special act that grants the extraordinary operational powers to the Indian Armed Forces that is provided through this particular act. Now, the trigger point over here is Section 3, which is applied only when a region is declared as a disturbed area due to the systemic conflicts which are there, and there is the dual authority that is provided, that is the central government and the state governor also, and the union territory administrator. They can issue the notification concurrently for declaring a region as a disturbed area. Now over here, there are extraordinary powers which had been provided under Section 4 and 6 of the Act. The Section 4A provides for the use of the lethal force, that is, the police can fire, or police, the power to fire, not police. There is the power to fire upon or use of the force, even causing death against the person violating the public order. There is Section 4C that provides for the warrantless arrest as well, where the power has been provided for the arrest of any individual on reasonable suspicion without the standard judicial warrants. Also, when it comes to Section 4D, it gives the power for the warrantless search, where the power had been provided to the armed forces to enter and search any premises to rescue the hostage or recover the arms cache as well. And the Section 6 provides the legal immunity, where there is the complete protection of the military personnel from the civil lawsuits or the criminal prosecution without any sanction of the government of the center or the union government. Now over here, there are three pillars of the deployment. The first pillar is the trigger, that is Section 3, where a formal notification is issued for declaring an area as a disturbed area based on the extensive disruption of the public peace. The second pillar is its execution, that is provided under Section 4, that provides extraordinary powers to the Indian Armed Forces, where tactical powers with the caveat of the handling over suspects to police within 24 hours is provided under the Section 4. And the third pillar is the shield, that is the Section 6, that provides the operational safety, immunity to preserve the field level command decision and the soldier morale in these disturbed areas. Now over here, it is very important that this is the case where the medicine it is making the patients sicker. Now when it comes to the AFSPA, so there is the draconian law that had been implemented, and that was passed in 1958. And there are the civil aviation. Ultimately, there is insurgent support that increases, and thereby that is the justification that is provided for implementing the AFSPA into the region. There had been allegations of the fake encounters as well, and there was the Malom massacre that happened in Manipur in 2000, where 10 of the innocent civilians, they were shot dead at a bus station that had triggered the historic 16-year hunger strike by Irom Chanu Sharmila, who is also known as the Iron Lady of Manipur. Also in 1987, in Oyanam village, there was extensive NGO documentation that revealed the misuse of the absolute immunity, and that had resulted in the torture and deaths before the eyes of their families as well. So thereby, when it comes to the AFSPA, it was made so that the peace could be restored. But at the same time, because of the atrocities that were committed in the past, it became the tool for the insurgency that grew into the region. Now, over here, when it comes to the recent statement that Home Minister Amit Shah said, he said that the Union Home Minister, he have announced that there are plans for the gradual or the scale back of the AFSPA from nearly all the northeast states from the next year. And this was where he was talking about the Assam Nagaland energy agreement. And there is a very important aspect of this, and that is that when it comes to the AFSPA, the ending of the AFSPA as well as the settling of the state boundary disputes or the issues which are there, and ultimately removing the security restrictions into the region, that will pave the way for the infrastructure development, for the industries to come up into the northeast, and ultimately that will lead to the development of the region as well. Now, when it comes to AFSPA, you can, see the constitutional dimension as well, where Article 21 that provides for right to life, but at the same time, when it comes to the AFSPA, so the Section 4A, that use of the lethal force on just mere suspicion, that seriously violates Article 21 of the Constitution. Then there is Article 14 as well that provides for equality before law. Now, over here, this is the friction that is under or within the Section 6 prosecution shield that carries or that creates the unequal legal liabilities for the armed forces personnel where the AFSPA is in place. At the same time, there is Article 19 as well, which has the fundamental freedoms. And over here, the freedom of assembly and movement in the security zones that is restricted. And also, under Article 355, it is a duty of the Union to, protect the states from any kind of external aggression or the internal disturbance as well. And citing this responsibility or the duty of the Union, the AFSPA had been created for the disturbed areas. Now, over here, we know that there are all the dimensions that have to be taken into the consideration, because when you are preparing for the UPSC, you cannot look at just one dimension or one of the stakeholder. It is, it is a concern when it comes to all the stakeholders which are concerned related to AFSPA. We have the armed forces, which needs the operational flexibility and the legal prosecution or protection as well from the prosecution, so that they can execute the dangerous security duties in the hostile zones. There is also local citizens. Now, the local citizens, they seek the standard civil liberties, personal dignity, and the removal of the continuous military choke points or the checkpoints which are there in the region. And when it comes to the government, so of course the government, it must preserve the national sovereignty while successfully building the infrastructure, building the democratic trust, and even the local administration. And thereby, this is a very important aspect when it comes to all the stakeholders. Now, over here, there are certain core operational challenges. The first one is the security vacuum. When there will be removal of the AFSPA from these places, there would be abrupt and the unplanned withdrawal of the force that can allow the dominant or the dormant, militant sleeper cells which are there, they can reorganize. And again, we can see the increase of the insurgency in the northeast region. There is also porous borders where it is difficult and jungle-covered international borders or the boundaries that facilitate the safe havens for the local insurgent groups, and that had been the problem when it comes to the northeast region. There is also democratic deficit where there is the over-reliance on the military deployment that slows down the development and even the modernization of the local state police force. And also, there is social distance that is created where the decades of military-led security presence, it can lead to the psychological alienation among the local communities. Now, over here, when it comes to the reform recommendations, so there were certain committees and commissions which were established. It was Jeevan Reddy Committee in 2005 that had recommended repealing of the AFSPA and for inserting the customized security safeguards where it can be directly inserted into the UAPA or the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act. The second ARC reforms or the second Administrative Reforms Commission also supported the Reddy report, and it says that the police modernization should be there ultimately over the prolonged military policing that is into the region. Then there was a Supreme Court mandated, appointed commission, that was Santosh Hegde Commission in 2013, which said that there should be mandatory 6-month review cycle of the AFSPA into the region where they had been imposed, and Section 6 immunity. It should not mean total inaction, and there should be prior sanction can still be pursued. That is what the commission had laid down. Later on in 2016, Supreme Court had also ruled that there is no absolute immunity when it comes to the AFSPA, and if there are any encounters, so that should be properly investigated for the if there had been usurpation of the powers by the security forces. So that is what had been laid down by the Supreme Court as well. Now over here we can see that there is the triggers of de-escalation as well. We can see Tripura model and the Meghalaya model as well. In 2015, the AFSPA was completely lifted from Tripura, and it was after 18 years by resolving the tribal land issues and upgrading the capacity of the state police. In 2018, the AFSPA was removed from Meghalaya following the successful neutralization and surrender of the active rebel groups. And this is the era where we are seeing lots of peace accords. There had been over 12 of the major tripartite peace agreements which had been signed, and ultimately there are more than 8,000 of the cadres that have returned to the mainstream society as well. So over here you can see in this map that where AFSPA is still enforced. So in Arunachal, it is enforced in Tirap along with this Changlang and Longding. Then in Assam, it is only in Tinsukia as well as in Charaideo and Shivsagar. Then in Nagaland, it is there in Dimapur as well as Mon and Kohima borders. In Manipur, it is in whole of the state excluding the Imphal Valley and the municipal areas. And we have 3 of the states where there is no AFSPA in northeast region, in Meghalaya where it was uplifted in 2018, in Tripura where it was uplifted in 2015, and in Mizoram where it was uplifted in 1980s. So these are the regions where the AFSPA is still enforced in northeast India. Now you can compare this with the global laws as well. In the USA, you will find that there is Posse Comitatus Act, which strictly prohibits the military forces from performing any kind of domestic law enforcement duty. There the armed forces is only for safeguarding the borders and for the outward or the expansion, the war that US fights in the foreign land. When it comes to UK, so you'll find that there is emergency operations in the Northern Ireland that have remained strictly accountable to the regular civilian court jurisdiction. So again, the military had been accountable towards the civil court jurisdiction as well. But when it comes to the developing state, so there is a reality that you should keep in mind, and that is there is hostile border proxy networks which requires unique, robust legislative backstops that should support the military-civilian security cooperation, and that is why we have the AFSPA that is in place in India. But at the same time, you can see that the Northeast, the things are changing. When it comes to the insurgent violence activities since 2019, there had been 80% of the decline. Also, there were 12 of the accords which were signed, including the regional groups like Bodo, Karbi and Ulfa as well. There are more than 8,000 of the former insurgents which have returned back to the mainstream, and they are now participating in the local democratic governance as well. When it comes to the complete hydrocarbon potential that the Northeast states have, it is more than or really about 15,000 crore rupees. So always remember, when it comes to the iron hand, it also requires a velvet glove. That is, when it comes to the stringent acts or the the uniform, or we can say draconian laws, so there must be the humanitarian angle as well that should be looked after. So this topic is related to the governance, it is related to the polity as well, and it is related to the AFSPA law that was passed in 1958. And this relates directly to your polity and governance, that is part of GS paper 2. Also, it relates to public administration as well. Alright, so if you are preparing for the civil services and you are looking for an optional that can cover, a lot of GS optionals or the GS paper that is there. So it is the public administration where it overlaps with GS paper 2, with GS paper 3 and GS paper 4 as well, along with essay and ethics. And you can enroll into the optional batch of public administration. And right now, for the limited time, we have the offer that is 50% off. And you can enroll into the batch by using the code BRS Live. That will fetch you the maximum discount. And the same is for the GS Foundation batches, where we are offering you the 50% discount right now. This is limited time offer. And again, I'm telling you that if you are enrolling into the batch, use the code BRS Live so that you can gain the maximum discount, that is 50%. If you are not using the code, so your discount, it will not be 50%. So for enrolling into the batch and gaining the 50% off, you have to use this code, that is BRS Live. Or you can also call us on 764 000 and 3000. That is 764,000 3000. That is our number if you are encountering any problem while enrolling into the batch. So that would be all in this session. Thank you very much, guys, for joining me over here on the platform of StudyIQ IAS. Do not forget to like the session, share the session with your friends, and as well as subscribe to our channel so that you do not miss any of the future updates. Thank you. Bye-bye. Take care and Jai Hind.